and let us all do we can to build a better future.
Yeah.
So what's going on?
So this is about our great healthcare in the country. So the Medicaid estate recovery is a kind of a different thing. There are two articles I sent, and one on NPR that was posted earlier this March, which is about the Rule family in rural Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
They have been sent a letter from their state, which the state requires. The federal law requires the state to do this, but to recover some kind of Medicaid money from the beneficiaries. So the Rule family is now going to lose their house to our government because they needed help paying for medical bills using the Medicaid. Every state has a Medicaid state recovery program, and how it works is when a beneficiary dies, the value of their estate is used to pay back debts before transferring to any heirs. The estate includes any assets such as homes or savings or retirement account that are solely in the name of the beneficiary. And now this family has owned the house for since I think it said 64. Yeah, they bought it in 64, and now Medicaid technically owns half of the house.
That
So
is, hold on. I don't mean to interrupt and interject, but this is by far the most barbaric and inhumane thing I have heard. But see, the thing is, we hear these stories all the time. I remember when Daniel did a story about a family in Oklahoma facing jail time because of unpaid medical bills.
Yep. Yep. And it's all because of this estate recovery. And it's just like the IRS. No matter what, they're going to get their money. And yeah, so her husband was going to leave it to their son, but he can't now because now he can't control Medicaid taking half of it. So, I mean, just imagine being in a family like this where you have your home, you lose a loved one, and almost a few weeks after they sent you a letter saying, okay, because of this loved one, we're taking your house, we're taking your assets, we're taking your money.
Right.
And in their letter, it says that the program had spent $226,000 for her health care, which is a lot of money. That's a little, almost $250,000.
Right. So here it is. So here's the thing. Already going through this article because we sent this to me over the weekend so we could talk about this. But already I'm seeing one of the major problems right here. You know, like when you have an engineer or repairman looking at something that you need fixed. Here's your problem. Iowa uses a private contractor to recoup money spent on Medicaid coverage for any participant who was 55 years or older or was a resident of a long-term care facility when they died. So right there, we all know what happens when you privatize anything. These bastards are like vultures. Continue on, Connor.
Well, that's exactly that. Yeah, it's called Sumo Group. It's a private company that runs Iowa's estate program, and 40 hardships requests were granted in 2022. 15 were denied. They collected from 3,893 estates that year. And, you know, their director for this article, Ben Chapman, declined to comment.
Oh, really? Why?
I wonder. But yeah, this is what happens when you privatize healthcare. It's not good for the people. You know, I mean, I know we've heard this over and over again, but we're one of the most developed countries, but we don't have our healthcare developed when almost every other country does have it developed.
So this is so whenever you hear anyone saying that it's too expensive for Medicare for all, or that people will go bankrupt or people will lose their homes, it's already happening.
Yep.
Again, this is a private company that runs the Iowa's Estate Recovery Program. So to the government officials there, I don't care if they're Democrat or Republican, your citizens, the people you're supposed to represent, are being bled dry by this private company. You know, I recently had to deal with the loss of my grandfather. I know, Connor, you had a tragedy in your family too recently as well. I think we've all dealt with it firsthand. And I have to say, going through the trauma of losing a loved one, going through that trauma is something that, you know, we all have to face in our own way. But can you imagine the additional stress and anger that's right now being built up on, because it's just one family, but the countless millions of families that now have to deal about, oh, well, could they lose their home? Could they, are they all going to face bankruptcy? Because in this country, it is expensive to be poor. It is extremely expensive to be poor. And a country where there's no health care, one bad day, and you could lose everything. And look, I know, shout out to Roger Meadows, but he's talked about home ownership. Home ownership is generational wealth. They're going to lose that house. And this is just one family. Rant over. Connor, take it away, because I want to pull up this article of what is Medicaid estate recovery. But is there anything else we need to address in this article here before we do move on?
Well, the only thing I guess is a call to action to try and help this family, but I don't know. I don't think they have um, any crowdfunding or
Mhm.
group GoFundMe or anything. But
Mhm.
just when you're applying for Medicaid or Medicare, make sure you read the fine prints.
Mhm. One other thing here too. Again, each state is different.
Yeah.
So right now, in this article here, I want to point out that well, one of Illinois' Democrats, U.S. Representative Jane Sawowski, introduced a bill in 2022 that would end programs. Well, gee, how about you and your fantastic friends do something with Medicare for all? I don't know. Maybe force a vote in March for Medicare for all in 2021 was actually a good idea. The Illinois Democrats says many families are caught unawares by the Medicaid estate recovery notices. Their loved ones qualified for the Medicaid participation, not realizing it could wind up costing their families later. It's really devastating outcome in many cases. And just remember, all our lawmakers in the Democratic and Republican Party have gold-plated health care, have six-figure salaries, and other wonderful social benefits. Now, I know I've said this over and over again, but I want this to be drilled into your mind. All right, all of you that are watching this, our politicians have gold-plated health care, six-figure salaries, and other wonderful social benefits. Remember that, because they're not like us, okay? They don't care about us. They don't think about us. They don't respect us. And the thing is, they get to have what millions of Americans rightfully are entitled to, because, again, as Connor mentioned, richest country in the world, and we don't have health care. So there you go. Let's move on to this next article here. What is the Medicaid estate recovery and how does it work? So let's hear about this goddamn nightmare.
Yeah, so this is just a very quick rundown of what it means. And I would just like you to scroll down to, can Medicaid take away someone's home? And it says part of the estate recovery process looks at property owned by the Medicaid beneficiary and recovering some of the debt through the value of that property, while putting a lien on the house. A state,
Yo.
yeah, a state can file a lien when Medicaid recipient is institutionalized and not expected to return home or after the beneficiary's death. So if you apply for Medicare, if you have dementia, a lot of people, need nursing homes or round the
Yes.
clock care in order to live like that. Medicare does not cover that. It won't cover that. So you have to apply to Medicaid in order to get that covered. So if they just think that your uh, family member is in the nursing home and is never going to come home, they can already just say, "Hey, I want to, you know, what we're spending on her, we need to recover that today." And they're not even passed yet. It doesn't matter if they're passed or not, but that is what this article is saying. There are a couple exceptions here: living spouse, child under the age of 21, blind or
Mhm.
disabled child, um, sibling with equity interest in the home who has lived there for at least a year prior. Um, and if you don't have any of these, then the lien is going to not be removed. Um,
All right.
I guess, well,
But
it's
I,
different.
sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but what I do find interesting is, where can I get help with estate recovery? The rules around Medicaid estate recovery are complicated and vary by state. So, in other words, you know what that means? That's short term for, well, it's Russian roulette. You
Yeah,
got one bullet in. There's 5 empty chambers. Let's go ahead and twirl that thing around. Point your head, and if it goes click, you dodged the bullet. If you don't hear anything afterwards, it means the bullet went into your brain. So there you go.
yeah. There you
Oh
go.
my
And
goodness.
the first bullet point they give you is your state or local Medicaid office.
You know what? It's asking, was this helpful? No. Thank you for your feedback. No.
Like,
There you go. If I could contribute something to that, I will at least contribute that. So, Connor, um, let me pull down this link here. After going through this, um, looking at the NPR article, they bring up an example of what happened in Iowa, which is interesting, or the comparison between Hawaii and Iowa. Iowa, whose population is twice the state of Hawaii's, recovered more than 26 million that year in regards towards going after people's estates. Whereas Hawaii's Medicaid estate recovery program only collected about 31,000 in 2019. So in 2019, Iowa got 26 million from people's estates, whereas Hawaii only got 31,000. And here's the thing: when someone passes away, maybe Medicaid should be collecting anyone from anything at all from any state. I don't care how you vote or what generation you're part of, but this is again what leads to more increased poverty and desperation amongst Americans. I want to give you the final note and add in any other commentary too, Connor. So take it away.
Yeah, I mean, you could see it goes by state, and you could tell who is owned by private companies by which state. I mean, 2019, the Hawaii's representatives were not allowing Medicaid to take as much away from the people, and in Iowa, it was just a different situation.
God almighty.
Yeah, and so again, just read slowly and read the fine print before you apply for Medicaid. It also doesn't make any sense because I feel like you apply for this thing so you don't have to lose your house to pay for these bills, but at the end of the day, you might just end up losing your house just like a few months, years later.
Well, you're in the United States of America, Connor. What do you think you're entitled to? Dignity and respect? Get out of here.
Yep.
You're poor, you're screwed. If you're rich, well, come right this way, sir.
Yeah.
You're going to be pampered right away. Folks, look, in 2024, prepare yourselves for Democrats to start talking again about we're going to do something about Medicare for all. We're going to do something about healthcare, and be ready to see AOC tweet out about what would Medicare for all do for you.